Hello and welcome to Azure Live Mert to the Future. Today I have more than one guest, and maybe I am the guest. I am not sure about it. Mert to the Future has deep dive sessions, but this time it will be a soft skill deep dive, and we are going to talk about Bradford Cloud User Group. And Imran, Shabazz, and Saj, welcome to the Azure Live. How are
Thank you. Yeah, we're good.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Okay, so let's start with introduction. Can you please introduce yourselves?
Go on, Saj, you can go first.
Me. My name is Mohammed Sajid, but everyone calls me Saj. I'm part of the people that set up the Bradford Cloud User Group. I work as a solutions architect. Worked in IT for about 15 years. Started in finance, but I found that completely boring and switched careers. I worked a lot of Microsoft tech. I've been NetApp certified over the years. Primarily do a lot of Azure at the moment. Teams, Intune. I talk to people like Mert. Over to you, Mert.
Okay.
I'm Imran Rashid. I've actually been on Mert's show before on my own, and we came out with this idea to come on as a crew, make it a bit more fun because I must have been boring. But yeah, I'm Imran Rashid. I'm from the UK. I'm one of the co-founders of Bradford Cloud User Group. I'm a solutions architect. I specialize in Azure 365, VMware. I blog at cloudbuild.co.uk. I also run azurecrazy.com, if you've not come across that. Just one of the musketeers. Over to you, Shabazz.
So my name is Shabazz Dar. Like Imran, I've been on Mert's show before. I think there's before Azure Live-ish. I was on that version of it. I work for a net company based in the UK. I'm a senior infrastructure consultant. I've been doing cloud for about 7-8 years now. Co-founder Bradford Cloud User Group. I also have my own YouTube channel, I Am IT Geek, which is my blog as well. So that's me.
Okay, great. So let's start with the basic question. What is Bradford Cloud User Group?
It's like a user group similar to what you're doing here. We wanted to set a user group up and kept it agnostic as possible because we want to focus on all aspects of cloud, public cloud, private cloud, hybrid, Azure, AWS, GCP, anything that anybody wants to talk about. One of the founding principles was we want to give voice to people that are in the community and they're part of the wider tech community, but they don't do public speaking. They might not get into public speaking, never spoken before. They contribute a lot through blogs or through public forums or through, writing. What was I trying to say?
Writing blog content and articles and stuff.
Not just blog content, articles, what they've never spoken before. And we set up a forum where we do a monthly blog and a public event. And the blog is more like this, informal. There's only us and another speaker. And there's also bloopers that we tend to put out over time. And we'll help you to help anybody along the way. So my first speaking event was at our own event. It was the first time I've spoken. He's speaking to you now. It's about giving new people experience about public speaking, exposure to public speaking, and any aspect of the cloud, and to socialize. With lockdown, you needed somewhere to talk to people without going crazy, and we can't meet up. We can't do it in person, have a meal, speak, catch up like that. So this is an outlet that gives us people to catch up. And for me, it's been interesting because you're not just meeting people locally, or people from the UK. I've met people from Istanbul, Turkey, yourself, Mert. We've spoken to people in America, in Europe. It gives us the ability to reach out to people all across the world. So it's been interesting times.
Yes, indeed.
Just to add to that, the Bradford comes from the area we're from, Bradford. So it's Bradford Cloud User Group. And we wanted to also promote tech in Bradford, but open it up to the world. And as Saj mentioned, talk about not just Azure, but AWS, Google Cloud, Alibaba Cloud, anything, and also allow new speakers to come on. Promote people in tech, promote beginners, university students from anywhere around the world. we just want to help. If we can help someone jump on that tech career, then yeah, Bradford Cloud User Group, that's the purpose.
Okay, great. So Imran, I want to ask this question to you. Why and how did you start this group?
Good question. So the Bradford Cloud User Group was formed about September last year in the lockdown. And I've never met Shabazz. I haven't really seen his face. I don't even know if he's real. He might be a fake person. And he might just be a dummy sitting there. But I know Saj because I work with Saj. But Shabazz I didn't know. But I got to know Shabazz over Twitter, and very, very passionate about tech. I knew Saj's passionate anyway. Saj's from Bradford. Shabazz is from Bradford. Got talking to Shabazz first on an Agile Crazy interview, and I was talking to Saj one day, and I said, we need to have someone in Bradford. So I've got the right person we can, bring on board. And I contacted Shabazz. I think I've still got that tweet saved. He just went crazy. Wow, yeah, I'm in. No more questions. Let's do it. Let's set up a team call. He was straight in. He didn't even ask me what, when, why. Let's do it. Because he was thinking the same. And he was like, yeah. And to be honest with you, it just happened from there. And we're all passionate. We think we're passionate, and I'm hoping we're passionate, and we like to share knowledge. We like to help people, so it's a perfect match. And we came together, and we've been doing all right. So that's how we all started off, all in lockdown.
Okay, so Shabazz looks like waiting for a question. So this question goes to Shabazz.
You know what it is, Mert? I always do the talking, so I've decided today I'm going to sit back and do most of the talking.
Okay, Imran said that you are covering all of the cloud vendors, but I wonder what areas have you covered on this user group?
No good question. We're obviously all three of us are Microsoft fanboys, down to core. So we all love Microsoft. That's kind of what our day in, day out jobs are all with Microsoft Cloud. So we've covered within Microsoft Cloud. We've covered Microsoft Teams. We covered WVD. We then covered. We did a. I suppose you could call it. We did a Women in Tech month. However, it wasn't about women in tech. It was women in tech doing tech. So we had Lisa Clark and we had Shannon Keane do technical presentations. Yeah. Again, around Azure. So that was covering Azure Stack and
VMware Azure.
Yeah. So and what now next week we're covering. We've decided to branch out a bit more and go to AWS. So we've got our first non-Microsoft event. So it's all around AWS. We have 2 sessions covering infrastructure as code and also code deploy. So we thought when we started, as Imran mentioned, we wanted to cover all types of cloud, because even though we're all into Microsoft and Azure, the businesses out there, they're not. They'll be agnostic. So we wanted to try and stay agnostic. So that's why we, like I said, we're going to hit AWS this month. And who knows in the future GCP. That's kind of what we've covered so far.
Okay, great. Now it is Saj's turn. Let's imagine I want to start a new cloud user group, and what should I do? Or I need to find some people to start a new group, or I can do it on my own?
In my experience, I would say it'd be easier if you had more than one person. It's a lot of work, background work, reaching out to people, promoting it. Like Imran mentioned, me and Imran discussed this whilst we were at work, because we work at the same place for the same company. So we were already thinking about this. And Imran came across Shabazz on Twitter. So I would say find like-minded people and reach out to the community. And Twitter is a great source for that. You can just tweet out there, ask for people, ask for feedback, ask for help. Ask for people to say, I want to start a tech user group. Is anybody interested? And you will be surprised how many people reach out to you and give you a hand. I would say also look at and joining other user groups, see what they're doing, take notes from there, steal their ideas. Because the end of the day, you got to start somewhere. So why not? I would say though, one thing we were trying to do was have new speakers and new subjects. So you've got a lot of veteran speakers out there, and they're absolutely brilliant. They've got lots of knowledge, and they bring all that experience with them when they speak, and all the followers that follow them. But what you don't get is breakthrough into new people, new speakers, new audiences that are trying to target. So if you're trying to reach out in Bradford, for example, it'd be difficult to get a Bradford crowd on board if you're not trying to bring in people from Bradford and bring in people that are experiencing the technology that we're trying to reach out to, the people in Bradford. So try to do something different, especially look at the target audience that you want to achieve and see what would be beneficial for them.
Okay, this question goes to Imran, because he said that we are like three musketeers. And do you have any plans on adding a fourth member, or all of your three is good like this?
Is that a hint? Do you want to join, Mert?
Why not? But I am not living in Bradford.
Sorry, you can't. Then you have to live in Bradford, mate.
You know, so it's a good question. We've actually, at the moment there's three of us. I would say Simon Lee, he's from Bradford. I would call him 50% Bradford Cloud User Group. I think we just need to push him a bit more and get him to join in. Simon Lee, I'm not sure if you're aware of him, but he's on Twitter. He's quite active. He's been on every single one of our events. I think along with Dean Ellaby, but Dean's not from Bradford. But Simon, he's from Bradford, so we might end up having to hire him and get him in. But yeah, you know what? You never know. At the moment, there's three of us, but you never know. It could be, yeah. Why not?
I think from my perspective, why not? Never say never. At the moment, like I said, we started. We're the founders. Who's to say we're not going to grow? I know I remember our last event, the Teams one. We had Zoe Wilson remember the idea she gave around having basically the user group, the South Coast user group do it, where they have different areas and different teams for those areas. So they'll have an AWS team who do an event every 3 months for the South Coast. Then they have an Azure team who will do, and there'll be different people from before. So who knows when we get, if we get, God willing, if we ever get big enough. Personally, I'd be well open to the fact of having more people. I mean, look at you guys at Azure Live-ish. Look how big that team's grown. So I'm open to it.
Simon Lee, I told you he was on every event. He's just given us a tweet. Thanks for the shout out.
So Simon has an official invitation right now?
Simon's hired.
Okay, great.
I would say why not, personally, because just as we're Bradford, three of us are from here, it doesn't really matter. And I agree with Shabazz, the more people, the more topics you can cover, the more time you can spend. So traditionally we can have, 1 a month, 2 a month, 3 a month, really depends. But as a small team, you can't cover that because you got work, family, community, you might run your own blog, but if you distribute that between a wider group of people, you could do more, but still not impact your own personal life. So I would say, yeah, why not? I like Istanbul, so anybody from Istanbul is welcome.
Yeah, that's true. As long as you've got passion for sharing, just knowledge, and as I mentioned, people like Simon, he's from Bradford. I think there's other people from Bradford as well, but yeah, anyone who wants to just join in, and it can grow to as many people as we want. We could go global to Turkey maybe, and America and stuff. But yeah, I might have to change the name though.
Okay, so this is an official invitation for everyone, and I think people will answer this invitation very soon. Okay, I think this is Shabaz's turn. Is that okay?
Yeah, of course. By way.
Okay, so we have official invitations, and how do people get involved with the Bradford Cloud User Group?
So again, another good question. One of the things I think Saj and Imran will agree, we've found it difficult to engage people, and it's not because I think people have virtual burnout. If I'm honest with you, I know it's something I kind of suffer from time to time. I mean, people can follow us on Twitter. So our handle is @BradCug. We have a meetup page as well, which is you can just search for Bradford Cloud User Group. We're on there, so you can register, and we have all our events on there. We have a YouTube channel, so we do, as well as our monthly meetup, we do a podcast with a new guest every month. This month we're going to be recording it next week. So so there's lots of different avenues people can get involved. We're always looking for people to speak, especially new speakers. Like Saj said, he did his first speaking engagement at one of our events. And funnily enough, Simon Lee, we mentioned him again. I believe he will be speaking at the June event as well. So we've got him penciled in for June. So there are lots of avenues to get involved. Just need to contact us, really. We're all approachable. Individually, you can get in touch with us at our Twitter or go to the user group page.
Okay, these questions go to Saj, because Shaba says you will have your first session. And for example, I want to get involved with contributing or comment stuff, but I'm nervous to speak in front of people or even switch on my camera. How was your experience?
My first experience, like this one, it was nervous. I'm not a natural public speaker. I think the more I do it, I'll get better at it. What I would say, if you're interested in doing it, try it. You might like it, you might not like it. Give it a couple of sessions, give it a couple of months, try different events. But don't try to make it up on the fly. So my first session was a technical delivery session about how to create a blog. So write your slides, practice it. Gregor gave some excellent advice. So within PowerPoint, there's a rehearse with the coach. So you can run your slides, talk to PowerPoint, and PowerPoint gives you feedback about whether you're too loud, you're speaking too quick, whether you're speaking monotone, and stuff like that. So I found that really, really helpful. So there are a lot of the resources out there. So I've heard people sign up for classes with Toastmaster or TED Masterclass for public speaking. I've not tried any of those, but people have mentioned that they got a lot of benefit from trying those classes. But I would say, if it's something you want to do, try it. You're going to be nervous. I was nervous coming on here. I was nervous coming onto my first one. I'll probably be nervous coming onto the next one. But I think you might get better at it the more you do it, and you get more fluent with it. So if it's something you want to do and you're passionate about it, try it. You can come on to Brad Cook. So as Shabazz mentioned, we do a podcast. So podcast is just normally us three and whoever the guest speaker is as an informal chat. So there's no guest, there's no audience, it's not live, it's pre-recorded, and we can edit out all the bloopers. So if you want to come and you want to try it and you don't want to do it publicly, get in touch with us and we can help you.
I think also if you want to get into it, I was the same. I wouldn't turn my camera on. You need someone with you. For example, Shabazz, he's helped a lot. He was into this public speaking, so he's been a good kind of mentor. But then you've got groups like other groups that you can join and just literally switch your camera off and start interacting. Eventually you'll turn your camera on. But I joined. I think it was the Welsh as a user group run by Johnny Chips or John Lunn, and I started to go on there. And eventually started to get people, get to know people through Twitter. And eventually you just turn it on. It's like being at work, when you do a Teams call at work. But for some reason, when you come out of that kind of comfort zone, you get a bit nervous. I've spoken to people that are kind of expert public speakers, and they've said they sometimes have had blackouts where they're about to faint because of the crowd. So it happens to not just beginners, it happens to experts as well. They get really, really nervous. But like Saj said, if you know what subject you're talking about, don't make it up, you'll be fine. So start off with joining other user groups. Come on Twitter. I think Twitter is the best when it comes to communicating with the tech community. And every single person that I follow on Twitter, they're all amazing. You can message every single one of them and they'll help you out. So reach out. reach out to us. All of our Twitter handles are on. Reach out to Mert as well. His Twitter. All these are our Twitter handles. Anything we can do, and if we can do it, we'll help out.
Okay, so Imran, are there any challenges with running a user group? Like you said, some people are nervous, or if you are going to make live demos like me, there are always problems. Or, for example, you are organizing a session and finding people to speak or join your session is another issue, time to time.
So for us, I think the biggest challenge with setting up a user group, finding passionate people is not a problem. There's loads of them. I'm not personally. I'm not on LinkedIn or on Twitter. There's absolutely thousands and thousands of passionate people that I've met. So finding people is not a problem. You could run it on your own, but when you've got a team with you, it's just so much more fun. It's just a much better buzz. But I find that the biggest challenge is we've not done an in-person event yet. We're doing virtual events, and I think the biggest challenge is people joining, but you only get like a maybe 40% turnout because people are busy. They've got a life, so they may join, but they may not be able to make it on the day. This is quite a challenge, and it's not just with us; it's with any user group. So that probably is the biggest challenge. We've not had any challenge with timings, so we've not had any arguments. Like everything just works for us lot. Maybe for some people it doesn't. So I think you should pick the right people, and just make sure you get on with them. Because if you don't get on with them, and one person saying I want to do it on Tuesday, and the other one goes, well, I'm not doing it on Tuesday, you're gonna fall out. We've all kind of worked together. We don't argue. We understand each other, which works really well. So I think the biggest challenge for us right now has been engagement. And I think it's purely because it's a virtual event. Maybe when it becomes in person, it'll be better. I don't know about you, Sajja, Shabazz, if you've got anything to add to that. But
I would second what you just said. To be honest with you, Imran, that's the only difficulty I found. The amount of support we've had from other user groups, like Welsh user group, like the Glasgow user group, just giving us support and sharing. Whenever we do an event, they always share it. And the advice from people like John Lunn who run user groups, that's been invaluable. And I mean, Imran, I know you've had loads of people reach out and say, if you want me to speak, I'm happy to speak.
Yeah.
We've had loads of people. That's not an issue. And even when we were looking to, asking for advice on how, what technologies to use with our user group, Teams or StreamYard or whatever. Again, the amount of advice we've been given has been really helpful and made it easier for us. The challenge is engagement, and I think it's two reasons. I think it is the virtual sort of burnout that people are having.
Yeah.
Also, I think as we named ourselves the Bradford Cloud User Group, we kind of specified a location. I don't know if that puts people off because they think, we're going to be home in Bradford. But we're open to it because it's virtual. We're open to everyone, even when we're in person. People from anywhere can come and join us. The reason we've specified Bradford is because we're all local to Bradford and we've had so much from this community, from Bradford in itself. We want to give back. That's why we specified Bradford. Saj, what do you reckon?
No, I agree with you on that. So part of what we're trying to do is highlight IT and IT within Bradford, and hopefully we'll have speakers over time that are from Bradford, that are new, that are not spoken. But I would agree with everything Imran and Shabazz has said. The engagement's been the biggest difficulty. I think once lockdowns open up and you've got the ability to have in-person and streamed events, you might get more engagement. But Bradford Cloud User Group is a name. It's not limiting anybody to attend or anybody to join or anybody to participate. So, you're all welcome. All speakers are welcome anywhere in the world, especially if it's virtual. You're more than welcome. If you want to join and help out, you're more than welcome.
Shabazz made a good point about people helping out. People approaching us. I've had loads of people approach me saying, guys, you're a new user group. If you want a public speaker, if you want us to come on and present, people from Microsoft have contacted us. Said, do you want us to do a talk on Azure AD or security or identity? Do you know what? We'll come on, don't worry. AWS. And the most important thing is it's free. these people don't want money from us to give us advice. For anyone who thinks that all this knowledge that's being shared, there's a charge for it. No, most people will take out time and they'll spend a couple of hours in a user group and they'll do it for free just to provide that advice. So that's the kind of beauty about the tech community. People want to help out without anything in return.
Okay, I think that's Shabaz's turn. So I want to ask the most asked question to the people in the tech community. And some people think we are making money from this community stuff. So do you gain anything from being involved in the tech community?
Monetary, no. In fact, it costs us money. We get buying the tool sets and the stuff like that. It costs. You have to invest in services like MeetMe and StreamYard, which we use for our podcast. So we don't get anything monetary from it. Do we gain anything from it? Well, yeah, we because we have such a passion for it, we gain satisfaction. It's massively satisfying after one of our events and getting feedback. Oh, that was a great event, and people joining. For me, and I know for Saj and Imran will probably be the same. It's massively satisfying. We've all three of us have had after events, people DM us and say that was a really good event. Thank you for doing it. Can't wait till the next one. So stuff like that sort of feedback is so satisfying. No, we don't get paid for it. It's a hobby. It's a hobby. It's like doing a jigsaw, whatever you do as a hobby, playing sport. This is our hobby. So apart from satisfaction, there's nothing else. We don't know about them too. Anyway, they might get paid. I don't get paid for it.
I get paid. I get paid £500 an hour. We don't. You know what, Mert? We've gone out and we purchased StreamYard. You can go for the free version as well, but we went for the branding one. We paid for that from our own pockets. So we've gone out and we bought a domain name. We've purchased. We've done that. Everything we do, we've done it. We've kind of between us. We kind of paid for everything to start it all off. And apart from that, it's all knowledge and just reaching out to people. But yeah, as Shabaz mentioned, it's all just a hobby. You enjoy learning. You learn from the user groups, and then you end up giving back as well. So that's just the main purpose.
Okay, I think this time is Saj's turn, but I want to ask these questions all of you because it's an important question for me. And I assume all of you are married. So lots of people asking me for a work-life balance because I am working and I am making too much webcasts and blog posts and contributions. And short version is how do you balance your community work family life balance, and the long version is how do you manage your wife while doing this kind of stuff.
Is your family there right now? Because Saj, if they are, give them the wrong answer.
No, they're not in the room with me. So yeah, I don't know. I can't see them in the background. So for me personally, I made the conscious decision at the start that I would commit some time to this. So, like most people, you work, you have children, especially, you're married from what I can tell. The brothers here from what I know got married, got children. So you have kids will be at school, you got a full-time job, you need time in the evening to spend with your children, you need time to spend with your wife, and you need to spend time with doing the community stuff. So for me, I try to prioritize time, break it into blocks. So I spend X amount of hours working, and after work, odd days, which I'll take time actually to do this event or the Bradford events. The time between them finishing work and them going to bed is committed to them. So I try not to do anything apart from that. So there's a couple of exceptions. So we do our events normally Thursdays, first Thursday of the month and last Thursday of the month. This is the first event that I'm doing that's outside of that particular norm. But I try to prioritize time. So then outside of that, I spend some time in the evenings. I'll spend some time early morning when they're still asleep, doing some of my own community stuff and doing some of my own studies. So I'm trying to get better at it. It's a work in progress for me. But I try to block out time where either they're asleep or in the mornings or late in the evenings to do some of the community stuff. And the rest of the time I try to spend either working or spend time with them and dedicate time to them where they finish school and you finish work. So that bit and that chunk of time is dedicated to them. And you have to dedicate time to your wife. Otherwise, they ain't going to last very long. So I think she would have to take priority and everything else seems to work around that.
For me, with that question, this is never going to change. So my wife's not here at the moment; she's out. She won't be watching, so I can say this: my family will always come first. There's no that's never going to change. They come before everything. Next, it'll always be work. I have to pay the bills, so that'll take priority. And then it's my passion, which is my hobby, which is community. The way I balance it is that I do a lot of things late at night. The amount of times I've sent these 2 messages, I've had like an idea of something, and I'll send these 2 messages at maybe 1 or 2 in the morning because I'm up and I might be doing a video or something. I have a good joke with Greg or Sutty. I always message him on Twitter at stupid hours of the night because that's when I get time to do it. After work, I have to give that to I want to give that to my family. I don't have to. I want to. So I find late nights are probably when I do a lot of my community stuff because my kids are asleep, my wife's watching one of her TV shows, and that's when I get some time to do stuff. But yeah, for me, it's always going to be my family first, then my work because I have to pay the bills, and then my passion, which is community.
Okay, yeah. Imran?
Yeah, same. Family comes first. I think a lot of people relate to me. So I have my moments where I'm preparing for exams and I'm absolutely focused, and out of those prep come labs and then come loads of blog posts. So you'll find that I'll have loads of blog posts coming out and I end up scheduling them all in. So every few days there's a blog post going out. But then sometimes I'm at moments where I can't be bothered with I lose that motivation for exams. I think everyone goes through the same. But I try to, when I am preparing for exams, I think I try to spend maybe, I kind of block some time out. And plus, if I'm at work, they'll sometimes give you some time off as well. But if you're working in tech and you're doing something, it's fresh in your head, you could take the opportunity to blog about it as well. That way, you're not taking up a lot of your family time. But I just do exactly what Shabazz and Sajid do. Family comes first. After work, it's all family. We do a few events. We do one cloud user group event every month, and we do maybe a couple of podcasts, which don't take long. But yeah, it's just that balance could sometimes be difficult, and as you kind of move on, it just all fits into place. Especially if you've got an understanding family as well, and if you work in IT, it's even better. But I think all that credit should go to the family members because they understand you, and they know this is your passion. And when you've got understanding family, they will support you and say, "Oh, by the way, you've got a cloud user group session tomorrow, aren't you?" And they kind of give you a good look and say, "Hope it all goes well." I know Shabazz, he's got to look really cool with his gelled up hair and everything, and he's You're
just jealous because I'm the only one with his bot hair. That's what the problem is.
Yeah, his missus supports him, and I'm sure he probably combs his hair and everything and say, "You need to be looking good on that camera." So yeah, I think you need to have a supportive family, and yeah, if your family's on board, which mine is, then yeah, it just goes perfectly fine. But just don't burn yourself out. That's the biggest advice I can give you. Don't burn yourself out. If you think you're burning yourself out, just calm down. Reduce that community work. So if you're blogging too much, maybe cut it down to one blog post, every 2 weeks. Don't don't burn yourself out because it's not obviously good for you.
Okay.
Actually, Mert, can we ask you that same question?
For me?
Yeah. How do you balance yours?
I can't. Because it is too it's too hard thing to balance your work-life balance, because you always need to learn new stuff.
Yeah.
And thanks to Microsoft, they are working too hard, and every week they are very new features, previews, new announcements, lots of things. And also, I think that family comes first. It is more important than everything. And the good thing is, my wife also a computer engineer, so
Okay.
she can understand me.
Perfect.
But
Yeah.
sometimes she complains about my community contributions. And when she complains, I said, let's assume that I am playing Xbox, and I am doing, instead of playing games, I am doing contributions. But I also play games on consoles, so it is not an excuse for me. And she says, yes, I know you are going to play a new game after your webcast. And I think she get used to it, because as you all said, it's my hobby, it's my passion, and I want to help people like me, because when I start the tech community, I have no experience. I also ask people to help. So why not I am doing the same thing for the new people? So I think we are good now. She's not here right now,
Oh,
so
no,
I can speak easily. Maybe you also, I think you understand this. So that's all.
No, that's good. You're doing a good job, Mert. Carry on.
Okay,
Doing good.
thank you. You too.
Thank you.
So before my wife come to the room, I want to change the subject. Okay. And today's topic is behind the scenes. So are there any behind the scenes secrets? Does everything always go perfectly? Imran?
We're both looking at Shabazz.
No,
So you know what? They never go perfectly. Shabazz must, every single session, Shabazz shouts when he makes a mistake. No, let's do another retake. And sometimes he swears. Now, sometimes, you know what happens? We'll be doing the recording and it's going fine. But you know when you make a mistake, you've got to re-record. And I
That's
know,
right.
Shabazz can relate to that as well. And we you know what? We all do it. We said, Shabazz, I'm really sorry. And we've been talking for about 10 minutes. Shabazz, I'm really sorry. I've just screwed up. Shabazz like, don't worry. Because it's actually Shabazz who does all the editing. But it's just that we kind of quietly say, and Shabazz says, damn, got it wrong. And you do it again. But, yeah, we, behind the scenes, when you see the recorded version, it seems perfect. But behind the scenes, we must have taken about 5 retakes, 10 retakes, and sometimes. So what we've done now is we've started to do it in chunks. So if I'm recording, if I mess up my speech, it's just my bit that gets edited, not all of us. But yeah, behind the scenes, I don't know. We've never had any technical issues. We seem to get around those.
we had one. We had one the last.
Or yeah, with the voice.
Yeah, so we had the last user group event we did. We had a good friend of mine, Sam O'Donnell, did a demo. Because the session was on Teams, he was doing a demo for via OBS. He wanted to record that part of the session rather than recording it on our Teams event. So he pressed record, but there was an issue with his sound. So his demo didn't have any sound, so we had to cut it out of the final cut. It was an amazing demo as well, which is around a Surface device, the Surface Hub device. So yeah, with live demos, as you mentioned earlier, there are always going to be issues. But as far as running the user group, like Imran said, we've never had any particular technical issues. The recordings are quite fun. We have so much fun with it.
We do. Yeah.
And I think that's why it works so well. We have such a laugh. So the way I like to see is Saj is the quiet one. I'm the gobby loud one. Imran's the ideas person. I mean, one thing when we do our podcast, we always give our guests some questions that we're going to ask them. And Imran writes the best questions. Honestly, his questions. I don't know where he brings them out from, but we've had a few guests say, "Oh, your questions are amazing." I never have anything to do with them. Sad, you're quite good at questions as well, but Imran and his questions is really good with our guests podcasts.
I agree with you. Well, if you want any questions, right, Imran's your man. So
Yeah,
definitely.
And I'll send you the invoice.
Oh.
No, you know what? We make a really good team. And you know what? Shabazz makes me laugh all the time. Whenever we have a hiccup, this guy cracks us up. Seriously, we laugh so much that when we have our next take, right, we're recording now, I start laughing. And as a Shabazz, I'm really sorry. And he's really calm at the same time. He's really, really calm. So Shabazz, I'm really sorry. Can you imagine recording for 15 minutes and then having a blooper where you just screwed up? This guy's like, don't worry about it. It's fine. I go, you sure? Yeah. It's fine. I'll do some editing magic, because Shabazz does all our editing. So if you want an editor, he's the man. But he does all our editing, and he just manages to do something. He tweaks out all the little words and anything that we're not happy with. But I think the challenge is also our editing. I think all the time goes there, doesn't it, Shabazz? A lot of
it's easier with the user group events. That's easier because you just kind of because they flow quite a bit. With the podcast, it's a bit more difficult because I think once we had one of our guest children came in, and it was bath time. I think Mark Vale, his child, came in when it was bath time. Sad, was it one of your kids once came in as well?
Yeah, my daughter came in. Yeah.
And, obviously, being in a virtual environment, we're going to have family coming in and stuff like that. So, like I said, I think the fact that the three of us have so much fun doing everything together, that really helps.
Okay, so we are on Azure Live, and I didn't ask anything about Azure, so I think it's time. So let's move on to Azure. And I want to ask this, all of you. Let's start with Shabazz. And what is your favorite Azure service?
I'm a massive Windows Virtual Desktop fanboy, as I've been called. So it's got to Windows Virtual Desktop for me. Last 18 months, I've done a lot around virtual, that particular subject and that service. So yeah, definitely Windows Virtual Desktop for me.
Do you want me to go?
Okay, Saj.
I'll
go. It really depends. For me, at the moment, the flavor of the month is Intune and Microsoft Teams. I'm doing a lot around Intune and security, mobile device management, stuff like AIP, DLP. It's really interesting. It might be boring to some people, but I seem to love it. It just flows. I've done a lot around Microsoft Teams rollout. So for me, the two kind of services I'm really involved in at this moment in time. I'm really enjoying doing it. But I think it depends. It depends, what you're doing, what you're working on. But for me, at this moment in time, that's what I'm working on, and I find it really interesting.
I think for me, it's got to be the one that glues everything together. It's got to be Azure AD with PIM, Privileged Entity Management, the security around Azure AD. Yeah, I think Azure AD's got to be a favorite of mine. It's got so much to offer, and as you know, it glues. It's the heart, isn't it, of the whole Azure platform, and whether it's 365, Intune, Office, whatever, in the background, you've got Azure AD running it all. So yeah, it's got to be Azure AD for me.
Okay, great. And another Azure question. And again, I am going to ask this all of you, but this time let's start with Sash. And in advance, I need to say none is not an acceptable answer. Okay. So, in your opinion, which Azure service is hardest to learn and why?
In my opinion, I would say it depends on the experience and the background that you come from. So for me, I'm an infrastructure person. I've spent a lot of time building VMware infrastructure, storage infrastructure, mainly NetApp, compute infrastructure, clustering services. So stuff like IaaS was quite easy to get into, and it wasn't all that difficult. Teams, Exchange online. Again, Exchange, if you're in Exchange in the past, you're not standing anything up. It's already it's a SaaS service, and the interface is exactly the same as the latest, on-prem. So, it's not that complicated. Teams, Intune is something that I really enjoy learning. But for me, stuff like web apps, I don't quite understand how they operate, what they do, how they interact, what I can do with them. And I'm not looking from a development background. AKS I've not spent a lot of time with, so I spent a little bit of time looking at it. So it may not be. How do I phrase this? So in my experience, like take storage. When I didn't do storage, I found storage really complicated. The more time I spent with it, I realized it's not complicated. Just you have to commit to learn it, and once you commit to learning it, you find that you're actually quite good at it. I think most people can learn most things. So for me right now, stuff like web apps, I don't understand them. I don't understand use cases, for example, how the technology will interoperate. AKS is something I'm not spending any time with. So stuff like that is not something that I'm familiar with. I'm not a development background. So the DevOps and how they tie in with it, for me, personally speaking, it would be stuff like that at this moment in time. But it's something I'm interested in learning. It's just finding time to spend learning it.
Okay, who's next?
Go on, Imran, you go next.
To be honest with you, I'm not going to say none, because nothing's, you can't say everything's easy. I'm also from more of an infrastructure infrastructure background. I'm wanting to move into more into the development side. So at the moment it's all IaaS, but more PaaS. Kind of doing kind of developing. I would love to develop software, and then being able to host that in Azure and stuff like that. I think at the moment that's probably more the more difficult area for me. But maybe it's not, because at one time, stuff that I found difficult, when I get into it, I find that I can learn it quickly. And if you've got the passion to learn it, nothing's difficult. But for now, at AKS, I was following the series that Gregor and Richard Hooper were running. That can be a bit difficult as well. But it just depends on what you're currently doing. So, for example, someone who's in development might find IaaS side of it really hard, but when they come on board, it's not. So I think for now, it's more the development side. I've just recently purchased one of the IoT development kits, because I saw Pete Gallagher and John Lund playing with them. I thought, wow, what's that? So I've just bought one. So I want to get into the IoT side, Azure IoT. So I'm going to start playing with that. I would have maybe found that difficult, but watching Johnny Chips and Peter Gallagher, I've been playing with this, and I thought, it looks quite good. The documentation out there is amazing. You can do this following Microsoft documentation, or reach out, to Pete, to people like Pete and John Lund. But yeah, I'm starting an adventure on IoT next. So I think you can't really say it's difficult until you start, and when you start, it's not that difficult. So previously I was only Azure. I got involved with 365, passed all my exams in 365, not all of them, but got up to the expert level. Did loads of labbing, loads of blogging, found it easier. So I think, I'm not going to say none, but I think you just need to practice, do labs, exams, study, and it does become easy. So I think more on the development side at the moment for me.
Okay, Shabazz.
So I am going to say none. Now there's a reason for it though.
You can't say none.
No, I'm infrastructure background like the rest, like both of you two guys as well. And I find development and coding, infrastructure as a code. I'm trying to learn Terraform at the moment. I find it difficult, but the beauty of Azure specifically is the amount of documentation there is, the amount of the amount of labs and resources available. It's not difficult to learn these services. So even though individually we have our own strong areas, us three have mentioned infrastructure. Sajid mentions Intune, WVD for me. When I started on WVD, it was rock hard. It was really hard, but because of the resources available from people in the community as well as Microsoft, I'm a year on, and I find that easy now. And like I said, I'm learning Terraform at the moment, infrastructure as a code. that's very difficult for me at the moment. But I'm hoping in 3 months' time, I will be good at that as well. So I think because of what's available out there as far as resources go with Azure, it is not difficult in that sense. What I find difficult will be different because I'm infrastructure, as is Saj and Imran. But I think Azure is not difficult if you spend the time labbing, reading, and doing certifications.
Good point, actually. You know, WVD. I started off on WVD as well, and I found a really good course from Travis Roberts, Zero to Hero with Windows Virtual Desktop on Udemy, and that resource alone, I was able to implement a WVD platform. And then you've got the WVD user group run by Neil. It's Neil, isn't it? Yeah, Neil.
And Kirk.
And Kirk Ryan. I joined a couple of those sessions as well. So there's so much resource out there. For example, that course from Travis Roberts, I think it's about £10 I paid for it. Amazing course. And I just set up a free Azure trial account, and I implemented it all. So it wasn't difficult once I learned it. So I totally agree with Shabazz. Once you start picking up on it and learning, it becomes easier.
Okay, Chris.
Sorry, I was going to say, if you have a passion for learning, then you'll be fine. Just commit some time to it, and practice. Blog about it. If that's your thing, and make some video content about it, because it solidifies your learning process, clarifies your thought, and put it into practice. Over time, you'll gain experience. So, what Shabazz was talking about, Imran, about infrastructure. So, if you're using infrastructure as code, you can deploy an infrastructure which you already have a background in. If you're looking at development and app development, you don't have any reference from a background experience, personally speaking, but you can learn it and go over time to gain that experience. So, commit some time to it. And I think in most cases, most things you can learn and be good at. So anyway, I had to cut you off there.
So also I want to add the contributing, blogging, or doing VPS is the best way of learning this kind of stuff. Because I believe in teaching is the best way of learning, because you are working too hard to write a blog post, because you need to find an undocumented part of the topic. That's why it's a very good way to learn that stuff. Also, as you said, the practice is the most important thing.
I find breaking things is the best way to learn. So if I've created a lab or something, I break it on purpose and try and fix it. And by fixing issues, that you learn how they work. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
What if you cannot fix it?
Then you found something that needs raising with Microsoft, then, don't you? you've got forums you can feed back on, and that's the beauty of Azure. It's not just standing still; it's ever moving. That's a good chance you may find something that there is no fix there for yet. And what do? You feed it back to the product teams through various sources, and then they will look into it, and then you help the product grow. So that's yes.
But also, Shabazz, I find that's what the tech community is there for. You can reach out to the wider people, and people out there will always have more experience than you. And so, Twitter was mentioned earlier. Just stick a tweet out there asking for some help or some guidance on this. Most people will come back to you.
Yes. Okay, we talk about the hardest one, and I think we all agree none is the correct answer. The correct answer is making more practice. But as you know, there are lots of Azure services products, and we need to keep up to date ourselves. So how do we keep up to date with the latest Microsoft Azure products? Because there are lots of products, and we don't have enough time to keep up.
Should I answer this one? I've had this is a common question I've asked on AzureCrazy.com, but I personally I I find Azure update sites really good, but it's just so much coming in. I find Twitter the best place to stay up to date, personally. Twitter, because everyone on Twitter is sharing blog posts. There's Azure, there's Azure on there themselves, Microsoft Azure on there with Twitter. They're always, and I just follow and hit that notification button. So whenever someone releases a new tweet, I get to learn about it. Click on the link. So for me personally, I stay up to date via Twitter. I find it easier. But there's also Azure update site. There's following blog posts. Also subscribing to blog posts. Attending user groups is another way. But yeah, personally, you can get all that information from Twitter alone. I'm not on LinkedIn, so I'm not sure what it's like on LinkedIn. But I'm not on Facebook as well. Twitter for me is enough to kind of gather all that information that I need. It's just too difficult at the moment, Mert, because it is just Microsoft's going at a rapid speed at the moment. There's new features coming out all the time, and it's just too difficult to keep up. So I just try to stay tuned on Twitter and grab as much information as I can. I'm not sure about Shabazz and Saj, or how you guys keep up to date. One of you wanna?
So I would agree with you on Twitter. Also, what I would say is what I do is there's lots of people that create content on YouTube channels and blogs. So like Microsoft Mechanics, for example, posts a lot of stuff about security, Intune, stuff like that. So I tend to subscribe to them and hit the notification button. So when they put something new out there, especially Microsoft Mechanics, quick 20-minute session, 15-minute session, half-an-hour session, it's easy to keep up to date like that. So if I'm working like at the moment, a lot of Intune, a lot of team stuff. So subscribe to YouTube content creators that are putting stuff out there, where they get the information from. But you can just get the information from people like that. And I agree with Imran. Twitter is a really good source for that kind of information.
Yeah, same. Twitter, because you get to follow people at the source. So if you're like we're all Microsoft, we follow people from Microsoft black belts, people that are actually developing the services. And when there's a new version like the WVD stuff, Tom Hinklin, I think he's called, is a WVD black belt. I follow him, and when a new service comes out or a development in WVD, I know about it because he's tweeted about it. He's got a link in the tweet to the document, to the MS document. I can read about it. It's difficult to beat Twitter or social media, should I say. Twitter's a good source, but LinkedIn as well. Social media is difficult to beat that as a source.
Okay. This will be my last question, and I think it is the most important one. So, what is next for Bradford Cloud User Group?
I'll take that one. We're going to continue with the monthly podcast and the monthly user groups. That's not going to go anywhere. We're hoping we can be in person before the end of the year. I think there's still a lot of uncertainty in the UK, so we're going to give it a target by the end of the year to have an in-person event. One thing that we've always wanted to do is try and engage